Have you ever been there? You're in that high stakes moment, all eyes are on you, and then poof, nothing. Your mind just goes completely, totally blank. If you've ever felt that frustrating, paralyzing feeling of choking under pressure, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And look, this isn't just a simple mistake. It can feel like a full-on system failure. So today, let's pull back the curtain and really figure out what's going on inside our heads when our brain decides to slam on the emergency brake. Man, this quote from Reddit just nails it, doesn't it? That bizarre, out of control feeling, it's something that can make you feel totally alone. But as this shows, it's one of the most universal human experiences out there. Your brain just hits stop, but somehow your mouth keeps moving. Wild. So yeah, that feeling of your brain just vanishing into thin air, it's incredibly common. And it's not just some weird personal quirk. It's a real, measurable thing that's tied to a surprisingly common fear. In fact, check this out. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, public speaking anxiety, the fancy word is glossophobia, affects about 40% of us. 40%. And a huge part of that anxiety is the fear of this exact moment, the dreaded brain freeze. We're talking about one of the most common phobias, right up there with spiders and heights. So what is this biological emergency brake anyway? Well, here's the most important thing you need to know right off the bat. This is not a character flaw. It's a feature, not a bug. A really, really old survival response. So let's break down how it actually works. So we've all heard of fight or flight, right? Of course. Well, it's time to meet the third member of the family, the one that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, the freeze response. It's this totally involuntary survival instinct where instead of fighting or running, our body just stops. It's a natural state of paralysis when our brain decides a threat is just too overwhelming to deal with. And what's so wild is just how distinct these responses feel in our bodies. Fight is all about aggression, right? That tight jaw, maybe feeling a little sick to your stomach. Flight is pure escape energy. You feel anxious, trapped, your limbs are restless. But freeze? That's a total system shutdown. You feel stuck, numb, heavy. Your heart rate can actually slow down, and you might even hold your breath without even realizing it. It's like your body is trying to make itself invisible. And look, this isn't some bug in our modern software. This response is ancient. Just picture a rabbit in a field that freezes solid the second it spots a hawk circling overhead. By becoming completely still, it's way less noticeable. Our brain is basically doing the exact same thing. When it's faced with what it thinks is a predator, like a quiet, judging audience, it defaults to that same play dead survival strategy. Okay, so we know it's an old survival instinct, but how does a modern day presentation trigger something so primal? To really get that, we need to peek inside our brain and see what's actually happening during the science of a choke. So the big idea here is a concept called the amygdala hijack. The easiest way to think about it is this. Your amygdala is like your brain's primitive hair trigger smoke detector, and your prefrontal cortex, that's the calm, rational CEO of your brain. During an amygdala hijack, the smoke detector starts screaming so loud that it completely takes over, and the CEO gets shoved out of the room. It all kicks off the moment your brain thinks it's in danger. And here's the crucial part. Your internal alarm system is ancient. It literally cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a room full of silent, staring eyes. To your amygdala, danger is danger, and it immediately floods your system with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. As soon as those hormones start surging, your amygdala, that emergency alarm, starts blaring. It completely bypasses rational thought and gets your body ready for immediate life or death action. Its only job is to keep you safe, and it acts in a split second. And here it is. This is where it all goes wrong for us in a modern setting. To save energy for what it thinks is a fight for your life, the amygdala cuts power to the non-essential parts of the brain. And unfortunately for us, non-essential in that moment includes your prefrontal cortex, the part you need for complex thought, for remembering things, for making decisions. And that is the brain freeze. The CEO has officially left the building. Okay, so we've got the biology down, but that doesn't really explain the psychology of it all. I mean, why is it that the more we want to do well, the more likely we are to fall apart? Why do even the most skilled, top-tier athletes and performers choke? You know, the relationship between pressure and performance is actually captured perfectly by something called the Yerkes-Dodson law. Think of it like a giant upside-down U. A little bit of pressure is good. It gets you focused, it gets you energized, it pushes you right up to the peak of that curve. But once you hit that peak, any more pressure sends your performance just plummeting right down the other side. Too much arousal, and you're on the fast track to failure. Psychologists have two big ideas about why this happens. First, there's the distraction theory. This one says that pressure fills your head with worries, like, oh my God, everyone thinks I'm an idiot. And that just eats up all the mental energy you need for the actual task. But the second one, explicit monitoring theory, is even weirder. It says you actually focus too hard on what you're doing. You start thinking about every tiny step of a skill that should be automatic, and it completely shatters your flow. It's like asking a centipede which leg it moves first. It just falls over. And if you think this is something that only happens to us regular folks, get a load of this. At the 2008 Olympics, rifle shooter Matthew Emmons was literally one shot away from a gold medal. He just needed a 6.7, a totally mediocre shot for him. But under that insane pressure, he choked. He fired a 4.4. It's just a gut-punching reminder that pressure can derail even the absolute best in the world. All right, so understanding the what and the why is the first step, and it's a big one. But the real question is, what can we actually do about it? How do we thaw out that brain freeze and take back control when the pressure is on? It's time to build our toolkit. So the second you feel that freeze starting to creep in, you've got a few simple but really powerful tools. First, and this sounds so basic, but it's crucial, breathe. Slow, deep breaths in and even slower breaths out. That long exhale sends a direct signal to your brain that the danger is over. Second, ground yourself. Look around the room and in your head, name 3 things you can see and 2 things you can hear. This yanks your focus out of that internal panic loop. And finally, use a simple affirmation. Just a quiet internal, I am safe or I can handle this can be enough to break that spell of fear. Now, beyond those in the moment fixes, there's the long game, strategies you can build into your life. When you rehearse, don't just practice your presentation, practice recovering from a freeze. Seriously, intentionally stop, take a breath, and then restart. Also, let go of perfectionism. Aim to connect with people, not to be perfect. And reframe the stakes. A brief pause feels like an eternity to you, but most people in the audience barely even notice. Oh, and a big one, use bullet points, not a fully memorized script. It gives you flexibility, so you're not walking a tightrope that you can fall off of. So, if you take only one single thing away from all of this, please let it be this. Freezing under pressure is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that you're weak or unprepared or not good enough. It is a biological echo. It's just your ancient brain's programming running in a very modern world. And just understanding that is the first huge step toward having a little compassion for yourself. And that really leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know that this freeze response is just your ancient brain trying in its own clumsy way to protect you, how does that change things? How can you reframe that feeling next time? Not as panic, but just as your body gearing up for something important. Definitely something to think about.